this lesson is going to be dealing with getting your heart ready so that you can bring up things to your spouse.
And this is part of being self-aware. Like if we are unaware of what's going on inside, we'll ramp up and explode and be like, "Ooh, I didn't see that coming." But if we're aware of what's going on inside, when we get just a little irritated over something, "Ooh, I feel a little edgy right now. What's going on?" Then I'm still in control of my thoughts and I'm in control of my words and I'm catching this, I'm nipping it in the bud. This is what I think a lot of this first phase is about, is being aware of what's going on in me and why, so that we can correct us. Because, I can't change Sean, right? I could have a conversation, but when relationships are not doing well, spouse can't be the one to have that conversation. And so we have to be able to lay that down and intercede for our spouse and realize, you know what? I'm not Holy Spirit to him. I need to prayerfully work on me. Now, as our relationship strengthens, we can talk about those things. But if your relationship doesn't support it, you wouldn't want to go there because if the relationship doesn't support it, it can actually do
So
damage.
this is taking personal responsibility. It's
Yeah.
it's recognizing what am I doing that could be contributing to the conflict or the negativity in our relationship. If
Yeah.
something isn't going right, that doesn't mean it's all my spouse's problem. We
Right.
can have a tendency to think that, but surely out of two people, we both could be doing something. I could be doing something that could be causing some negativity. And it's getting the mirror out and looking in the mirror and saying, what am I doing?
So we want to talk about stepping on each other's emotional toes, those times when we accidentally do something that lands with a negative feel, negative environment for our spouse.
So
Yeah.
triggers are those things that someone does that is associated with a flood of emotion related to something or someone else, usually from the past. So something happens and wham, you go back to some negative incident that happened, and your spouse could be thinking, wow, what did I
Yeah.
do? Where did that come
Mm-hmm.
from? But
Yeah.
that sort of sounds like Chris and what you guys what what what
Yeah.
Sharon
What
said
Sharon,
happened,
yeah,
because I don't know, maybe you were bewildered. It's like, whoa, where did that come from?
but triggers, think about it. The way people treated us when we were young. For me, one of my triggers is if I'm interrupted and you don't come back. Like
Mm,
to me, that shows lack of interest, right?
mm,
And because there were times when I was a youth where I just didn't feel like anybody really was interested in what I had to say. I would mumble and not finish my sentences and until I got older and realized what I was doing. And then I started working on that. But I believed for a long time that nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. And so fast forward now in our marriage, if Sean interrupted or if we were interrupted, but there wasn't anything ever said about something I was sharing that was important, we didn't circle back around to that. I was like, wow, it just seems like it didn't even matter. And it's like, but that's not what's happening here, right? There was something different going on, and Sean wasn't disinterested, right? But there were things I would read in the early decades as disinterest. And so that's something we have to be aware of is things can look a certain way. Jesus said, don't judge according to our appearance, but judge righteous judgment because things can look a certain way and feel a certain way, but that doesn't mean that's the way it is. We should question it rather than receiving, oh, yeah, that's what's going on.
So maybe when we're talking with each other and then something seems like stepping on a landmine and you have that one, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Maybe instead of getting defensive and attacking back and then, why are you talking to me that way? We ask a question. We do a little exploration. We find out, not in an attacking way, but asking for investigation, hey, what's going on? What made you
Yeah.
respond that way? And then try to get to the bottom of finding out, why did you withdraw? Why did you erupt like that?
People bring baggage into a relationship, and then we think, oh, surely I have dealt with all of my triggers by now. I mean, we're 60. We've worked on this for years and still encounter the triggers. And it's like, what? From my childhood still all these years later? And so it's important that we look at them and that we be able to talk about them. You know, like we said earlier, it's not you, it's me. And I'm sorry that we have to deal with this challenge, but kind of this is what goes on for me. And when I get there and I'm in that place, I start to escalate, into the negative spiral. And obviously, since we don't want to go there, we could, instead of stepping on the trigger, we could come around and approach our spouse in a different way if we're aware, right? I might not be able to approach you where the trigger is, but of all the people on the planet, I should be the one that doesn't step on his triggers because I know what they are and I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't talk to him in ways that come across disrespectfully. But if we can't have those conversations, we're clueless
Yeah.
and we're doing a lot of things, um, not realizing what we're doing, the damage we're doing to the
I
relationship.
love that in
Mhm.
I think in James 3, where he talks about wisdom that's from above is easy to be entreated. So we ought to be able to say things like,
Yeah.
hey, would you let me know if I ever come across in a way that steps on a landmine or a
Yeah.
trigger something from the past, so because I want to stay
Yeah.
off of those things.
Yeah. So, some of this information is from Dr. Greg Smalley's book, Fight Your Way to a Better Marriage. So, triggers are related to sensitive issues like fear, unmet expectations.
Unmet needs, past hurts, or vulnerabilities.
And when triggered, we tend to feel unloved, disrespected,
Could be rejected, failed.
controlled, or abandoned. Oh, did it print?
Yeah.
Printed on the front and back. Sorry, y'all. We
Could
hate
be
flipping.
could be inadequate, worthless, not good enough.
Invalidated, unimportant. So basically, there are things that cause they're related to sensitive areas, and there's certain feelings that will be triggered, and so the topic isn't usually the topic.
Hmm.
And so it's important during conflict to notice how this event caused us to feel about ourselves.
I guess that's another way of saying the issue isn't really the issue. And so
Yeah.
sometimes we can find ourselves um, upset about something, and one of us could think, so just say for example we got into a conversation about money, about budgeting, and then it morphed into something else,
Yeah.
and one spouse still thinks, oh, you're just upset about the budget, and the other one,
Yeah.
now it's turned into something else, and they feel invalidated. They feel like their perspective
Yeah.
is nothing, and they don't feel like they have a voice in the relationship. Now, it's not about the budget or the money anymore. It's about now they don't feel seen, they don't feel noticed.